Welcome to Halachot of Niddah. This will be part 10 of the class. Today's topic will be separating from her. We want to see today the laws of Dine Prisha Samuch Levesta, the laws of separating from one's wife close to the time when she's anticipating to get her period. Let's just make this clear. And the time when she's anticipating to get her period, not only are you not allowed to have relations with her, you're not even allowed to sleep with her on the same bed because we're afraid that you might come to have relations with her. Regarding kissing, hugging, and touching, we'll see these halachot be'ezrat Hashem later on. Very important to note that these are laws that we're going to start speaking about separating from one's wife at the time when she's anticipating the period. That's even if she's 100% pure now. Doesn't matter. If she's waiting for her period to arrive, you're not allowed to have relations with her. Don't make that mistake thinking that since she's tahor and she's my wife, I could be with her. It's asur. You're not allowed to be with her even at the time when she's pure, since she's waiting for her period to come. Now this is actually part 2 of the shi'ur, meaning we are doing the Sefer Taharat Habayit Katzar by Rav David Yosef Shlita, and this is already Parak Bet. This is chapter 2. In chapter 1 we discuss the halachot of what makes a woman tameh on a rabbinical level and also on a Torah level. Now we are moving to chapter 2, which is going to speak about separating from one's wife even when she's allowed to you, meaning even though she's pure, still you have to separate from her because she's anticipating her period. Rav David Yosef begins, Ematai tzarich ha'ba'al lifrosh mi'ishto. When does the husband need to separate from his wife? So he brings down a verse in the Torah which states that we have an obligation to separate from our wives at the time when she's anticipating to get her period. Nemar b'Torah, it says in the Torah, in Sefer Vayikra Perik Tetvav, Pasuk Lamed Aleph, V'hizartem et bnei Yisrael metum'atam. You should warn the Jewish men from their impurity. That is the Pasuk. Came our rabbis of blessed memory, V'darshu Chachamim, and our rabbis of blessed memory explained this verse to mean B'masechet Shavuot Daf Yudchet Amud Bet. Mikan, from here, Azhara leBnei Yisrael, it's a warning to the Jewish men, Shifirshu min nishnotehem, that they have to separate from their wives, Samuk levestan, close to a woman's anticipated period. Uparishad zu, this separation that we're going to be speaking about, Uparishad zu midivri sofrimhi, this separation that a guy has to separate from his wife at the time when she's going to go ahead and anticipate her period is only from the rabbis. And the rabbis, they base it off on the verse which is written above on this verse. This is the verse. So when it comes to the laws of separating from one's wife, it's only from the rabbis. Rabotai, even though it's from the rabbis, make no mistake, do not, I repeat, do not take this halacha lightly. In Masechet Berachot, in the beginning of Masechet Berachot, it says over there, anybody, kol ha'over al divrei chachamim chayav mitah. Anybody who transgresses the words of the rabbis, their punishment is the death penalty. So the Gemara goes on to ask, I don't understand. By Torah laws, you don't get a death penalty. So it goes on to explain, because a lot of times people think something which is rabbinical, big deal, the rabbis made it. Why should we listen to them? That's why the punishment is more severe. Fine. V'kama zman hi aprisha, and how long is this time of the separation where the husband has to separate from his wife? So Rav David Yosef Shlita tells us it's an ona, it's one period. Now, Rabotai, I want to go ahead and I want to just write something for you over here. When we say ona, and I'm translating as a period, it does not mean this does not mean the period of the woman. Whenever I say over here ona, it means a period. It means, we'll see right now, a period either day or night. It's a time frame. But it's not a period when you say like a woman's period. Rabotai, if you guys, I'll tell you why, 1 second. I'll tell you why I'm making this clear. I remember learning this with Rabbi Walken, and we had people in the class that were learning Halachot of Niddah with us. You said period. So if she has a period, how can she, whatever, how can she, of course she has to stay away. No. Period does not mean a woman's period. Period means a time frame. Okay, so let's go back. Just have that in mind, okay? Okay. So we began. And so how long is the time where a husband has to separate from his wife? Ona, 1 period, Rabotai. Ve'ona zo, and this period, this time frame that we're speaking about, hi yom or laila. It's either day or it's either night. Now, Rabotai, make no mistake. It's not a 24-hour day. Some people make this mistake and then they don't have relations with their wife. Very big problem, Rabotai. If the Torah allows you to be with your wife, or if she wants to be with you, you have to make sure to see to it that she's happy. You can't be strict, Rabotai, on your wife's behalf. That you cannot do. So if the Torah tells you, let's say let me just tell you outside right now. If let's say a woman, I'm going to have to show you this calendar anyway, so what's today's date? Look, current time, 12:29 p.m., okay. Today is Tuesday, September 2nd, okay? Let's say Tuesday, September 2nd in the afternoon. Say this woman, she's anticipating to get a period right now during the day. We're going to see from when are you not allowed to sleep with her. From here, I'm going to just explain. From sunrise until sunset. Right here. We'll see this, Rabotai, inside a little bit in depth. I just want to explain to you something. But prior to sunrise, prior to 6:23, say 6:21. If you know you could finish before 6:23, you're allowed to be with her. Don't tell her, I'm afraid maybe you're going to get your period because you're close to 6:23. No, her period is during the day. Since the period, meaning the time frame when she's anticipating to get a period is from 6:23, let's say, till sunset 7:25, then we're going to tell you from that time, you're not allowed to have relations with her. But prior to 6:23, say 6:20, if you know you're going to be able to be with her and finish before 6:23, 100% you're allowed to be with her. Or maybe, Rabbi, I'm afraid I don't want to take the chances. If you're allowed to be with her, you're allowed to be with her. Don't make everybody crazy, Rabotai. People with their stringency, they don't know halachot, and they make everybody's lives miserable. Same thing over here. After 7:25, we'll see also 8:06, but really it's after 7:25, as long as she did a internal checking before 7:25, because that's what a woman has to do on the day when she's anticipating the period. She has to go ahead and she has to check herself internally before she can sleep with her husband. But after the 7:25 period, we're going to tell her she's allowed to go ahead and she's allowed to have relations with her husband at night, and let the husband not be a tzaddik and a chatzit shoite and say, maybe you're going to get your period. Rabotai, she did the bidih because she's clean, you're allowed to be with her. All right. So, let's go back over here. Ve'ona zo hi yom o laila. So this period, meaning this time frame, it's either going to be during the day and either during the night. but do not make your wife's life miserable and make it day and night. If she's telling you, babe, I'm supposed to get my period today, let's say during the day, or let's say she's telling you this last night, that tomorrow I'm supposed to get my period, you're allowed to sleep with her the night before the period and the night after the period. As long as, of course, she didn't get it and she did the internal checking. But Rabotai, I'm going to repeat it again. I've seen this over and over and over again, where husbands, they hold back having relations with their wives because they are afraid of maybe she's going to see blood during him and her having relations. Rabotai, even if she sees blood, I'm not going to get into it now. If you're doing everything according to halakha, you're not going to be held accountable. But Rabotai, this is not the topic for this. So, one more time. Let's do this one more time. V'kama zman he appreciates, and how long is the time where a husband has to separate from his wife at the time when, at that period, when the wife is anticipating her period? Oh no, it's one period. Guys, you paying attention? Period. So you have to know which is the time frame and which is the real period. Okay. Ve'ona zo, and this period, this time frame, hi yom or laila. It's either day or night. Meaning, if a woman's way is to see during the day, you have to separate from your wife that whole day. Now, when I say that whole day, I mean specifically the day itself, not the night prior to the day and not the night after the day. The day itself only. So he tells us, when is that? When does the day start? Mishat zrichat hachama, from sunrise, ve'at shki'ata, until sunset. Let's do this, like I just explained. Whenever you do, by the way, this is my zmanim. If you go to myzmanim.com, let me just show you how I did it. If you go to my zmanim right here, you type in my zmanim. I put in my my area code. You press search my zmanim. Oops, let's say it again. One more. You my zmanim, then you go over here. Bam, it gives you the time, right? It tells you your current time, when it's dawn, which is alot shachar, when is the earliest talis in tefillin, as you guys can see to the side, to your left. Earliest talis in tefillin, 5:32. By Sephardim, it's even a little bit earlier. I don't want to get this introduced now. But the sunrise is, by everyone, is the same. Sunrise over here, 6:23. Okay, now, Rav David Yosef Shlita is telling us that if a woman is accustomed to getting her period during the day, meaning really her period, like the blood, during the day, that means next time around, that same date, we'll see these laws, from 6:23 until sunset, which is 7, right here, sunset, which is 7:25. During this period from 6:23 till 7:25, this is the time we're going to tell you you're not allowed to have relations with her, because this is her time frame where she's anticipating a period. But prior to 6:23, even at 6:21, and after Shkia, after sunset, as long as she did the internal checking, one would be allowed to be with his wife. So let's see that over here. If a woman's way is to see blood during the day, you have to separate from your wife that whole day. What is considered the day? From sunrise until sunset. Now, the next question we want to see, what happens if the woman sees regularly her blood? Let's say, yes, she sees it during the day, but what happens if it's towards the end of the day, right over here, 7:21, she sees blood? What happens if she sees it at 12:54 during the day? What happens if she sees it at 6:24 during the day? Again, Rabotai, I'm going based on today's Zmanim. Because remember, every single day the time changes. So you have to go based off the time. So not only are you going to be using a Jewish calendar, you also have to use the Jewish Zmanim to know when you're allowed to be with your husband or not. So, does that make a difference when she sees? Does it make a difference if she sees in the beginning of the day, in the middle of the day, or towards the end of the day? So comes Rav David Yosef and he makes another important point. Comes Rav David Yosef and he says, Ben im darka lir'ot b'tchilat hayom, whether the woman's way is to see during the beginning of the day, or ben im darka lir'ot be'emtza hayom, or whether the woman's way is to see during the middle of the day, or ben im darka lir'ot b'sof hayom, samach l'shkid hachama, samach l'shkid hashemes, or whether her way is to see the blood towards the end of the day, close to sunset, what I just showed you. In all of these situations, Rabotai, we're going to tell you, she's a woman that sees during the day. I don't care when she sees it during that day. If it's after sunrise, if it's after 6:23, anytime after 6:23, and anytime before 7:25, for today's date, Rabotai, if it's anytime after 6:23 and anytime before 7:25, we're going to say that woman saw during the day. That means the next time around, when that date comes, we'll see this halachot more. The husband is not allowed to sleep with his wife during the day. You know something? Let me try to see something if I could get this. 1 second. Let me see something. I just want to show you guys something. So watch this. Look, it went from 6, look at sunrise. Just want to show you how important this is when people chas v'shalom making mistake in these things. Look, it went from sunrise, from 6:23, it went to 6:36. So it automatically changes. This date in the calendar is Monday, September 15th. So today is September 2nd. So it changes. So now the husband, if he wants to be with her at 6:34, he could be with her. What about sunset? Sunset also drastically changed. Sunset is earlier, 7:03. So Rabota, it does make a very big difference. Okay, so you gotta be very, very careful when you're dealing with these halachot that you look into. You look into the Hebrew calendar. Okay. I just went back to today's date, okay? Okay. So one more time. Whether the woman sees in the beginning of the day, in the middle of the day, or close to sunset, I'm going to say that's considered and it's called that she saw during the day. So next time around when the husband has to separate from her, he has to only separate during the day. Oh, Rabbi, but she saw in the beginning of the day or towards the end of the day. Doesn't matter. It's still called that she saw during the day. And you only have to stay away from her during the day and not also during the night. So let's go back over here. Ben im darka. So one more time, guys. Ben im darka lirot b'tchilat hayom. Whether her way is to see in the beginning of the day, or ben im darka lirot be'emtza hayom, or whether her way is to see during the middle of the day, or whether her way is to see towards the end of the day, close to sunset, doesn't matter. All of these things we're going to say that the husband only has to stay away from her during the day. Continues Rav David Yosef. So when are you allowed to have relations with her? Umutar ben balayla shelafanav u ben balayla shelacharav. The husband's allowed to have relations with his wife the night prior to her anticipating a period, or the night after she anticipated a period and it never came. That's what he says in parentheses, imadain lor ata. So one more time. Umutar ben balayla shelafanav. The husband is able to go ahead and he's able to sleep with his wife the night before sunset. No, the night before sunrise, right over here. If sunrise is at 6:23, he's allowed to sleep with her at 6:21. We give him up to 6:23. And then he's also allowed to sleep with her after sunset. So if sunset 7:25, if she did the internal checking and she didn't see blood, that following night after 7:25, she's allowed to be with her husband, or he's allowed to be with her, and you don't have to be afraid of anything. That's what he's telling us over here. Umutar ben balayla shilafanav, and you're allowed to sleep with your wife prior to the day she's going to go ahead and anticipate her period. Uben balayla shilachrav, or whether the night after the day when she's going to anticipate her period, you're allowed to go ahead and have relations with her. Im adayin lo ra'at, and that's of course if she did not yet see. Bottom line, what Rav David Yosef Shlita is telling us is don't make the mistake that a lot of people make and go ahead and say, you know something, I'm not going to sleep with her the night and also the day, because maybe she's going to get it at night. No. If she's a woman that's accustomed to getting it during the day, you only have to stay away from her during the day. The night before the day and the night after the day, as long as she didn't see, you're allowed to go ahead and be with your wife. Rabotai, when you know halachot, it's beautiful, life is beautiful. When you don't know halachot, that's why people's lives are miserable, because they don't know what's right or wrong, so they make everything asur. Okay. Now, so he says over here, when are we going to allow you to go ahead and sleep with the wife after her time frame came and she did not, meaning after her, the anticipated time for her to see the period came, and she didn't see no blood, and we said you're allowed to sleep with her right after that, meaning at night. So he says, "Ubelvad," and as long shebatka ha'isha atzma samach l'sof onat avesiv v'lo ra'ata, as long as the woman went ahead and she checked herself close to the end of her period cycle and she didn't see. Meaning, if this woman, let's say she's a woman that sees during the day, so we explained before 6:23 he's allowed to have relations with her. And then after 7:25, the night following sunset, over here at 8:06, let's say, he's allowed to go out and he's allowed to have relations with her, correct? This that we're going to allow you to have the night after her anticipated period, where she was anticipating to get a period, but she didn't get it, so therefore she's allowed to sleep with her husband at this period now after 7:25. That's only if two conditions are met. If she didn't see any blood, and then she went ahead and she checked herself, let's say, if sunset is 7:25, she checked herself 7:20, 7:15, 7:23, doesn't matter. As long as she checked herself close to sunset, she didn't see any blood, right after that, her period, her waiting for a period is over. She's allowed to have relations with her husband the following night after that day has passed. Right after this whole day has passed from 6:23 to 7:25. After that, he's allowed to have relations. That's what he tells us over here. As long as the woman checked herself close to the end of her anticipated time when she's going to go out and see the period, and she didn't see. Now, a lot of women don't know this halakha, and they think they're permissible to their husband. They're not permissible to their husband, meaning to say that if you didn't check during that day, you can't have relations with your husband afterwards. You first must check. Now, so he tells over here, V'im lo batka samach l'sof onot haveset. What happens if a woman did not check towards the end of her period where she was anticipating the period? In our case, it was going to be, let's say she didn't check right over here before 7:25. What does Rav David Yosef Shlita tell you to do? Tivdok la'achar mikan, check yourself afterwards. U'kumosh yuvo'ar lahalan, like it's going to be explained later on. Again, we want the woman to check in her anticipated period when she's anticipating the blood to come, close to sunset. She has to check. She didn't check, make sure she checks after, before having relations with her husband. Otherwise, she shouldn't have relations, because maybe she has blood and now she's having relations with her husband. Chas v'shalom rabotai, she can fall into the problem of having, or better yet, sleeping with a niddah and getting into the problem of karet. Okay, so that case was all that if the woman is accustomed to seeing during the day. So to the other way, Rabotai. V'chen, and so to imaya darka little balayla. What happens if a woman is accustomed to seeing her blood at night? Her way is to see the blood at night. When does the husband separate from her? Poresh mimena kol halayla. He has to separate from her the whole night. Not only is he not allowed to have relations with her that whole night, he's also not allowed to sleep on the same bed. So let's do this, Rabotai. let's say nightfall is 8:06. Let's say this woman, that's when she sees her period, is at night. From 8:06, Rabotai, until the following day, which let's just say in this case will be till 6:23, that or period from let's just say from 8 p.m. at night till 6:23 in the morning, that's called the night period. That whole period from 8 p.m. till 6:23 a.m. in the morning, she's not allowed to have relations with her husband. And they cannot sleep on the same bed. But we're going to see, but after 6:23 till, after 6:23, she's allowed to have relations, which is during the day. Or the period, if it's 8:06, before 8:06, on a previous day, she's also allowed to go ahead and have relations with him. Now, the halachot, we're going to see that is one really allowed to have relations with his wife during the day? That's a whole different subject. But I'll give you one rule, that if the husband is overtaken by his yetzer hara, by the desire that he wants to be with his wife, now chas v'shalom, again, she's tahor. I'm just talking about in general. I'm not talking about right now, she's waiting for a period. No, I'm just saying in general law. Can a husband sleep with his wife during the day? So there are different laws if he's a Talmud Chacham versus if he's not a Talmud Chacham. But I'm not going to get into all these laws. There's many laws to it. But one rule I can tell you, the Mishnah Berurah brings down, that if the husband is overtaken by the desire to be with his wife, when he's allowed to be with her, not in this period, in general, when he's allowed to be with her, and he cannot control himself, over there we're going to say he's allowed to be with his wife during the day. Another way you can be with your wife is that you make sure that the whole room is dark. That's for a Talmud Chacham. Again, they have to cover themselves with sheets. Rabotai, all these halachot b'lineder be'ezrat Hashem, if he brings it down, we're going to see it. I'm just going to tell you from the outside that rule, that you should know that if the yetzer hara overcomes you, since we're afraid that you shouldn't chas v'shalom spill semen in vain, we're going to tell you you're allowed to go ahead and be with your wife because it's only an issue of modesty and not any real prohibition. Okay, so let's go back over here. V'chen, and so too, if a woman was accustomed to seeing during the night, poresh mimenu kol halayla, you have to separate from your wife the whole night. Now, ben im darka lerot b'tchilat halayla, same concept. Rabotai, whether the woman is accustomed to seeing the blood in the beginning of the night, or ben be'emtza halayla, or whether she's accustomed to seeing it during the middle of the night, or ben besov halayla samach lizrichat hashemesh, or whether she's accustomed to seeing the blood towards the end of the night, which is close to sunset, doesn't matter. All that is called night period. If she sees it in the beginning of the night, in the middle of the night, or towards the end of the night, we're going to say this woman is accustomed to see it during the night. So next time around on that same day, meaning the date, when the night comes, the husband is not allowed to sleep with his wife during the night alone. Umutar ben beyom shelefanav, and he's allowed to sleep with his wife the day before the night. So he tells us in parentheses, having relation with your wife is permissible in certain circumstances. That's why I gave you that circumstance, that rule. If you keep to that rule, you'll be fine, Rabotai. Ubein biyom shel acharav, or whether you're going to go ahead and you're going to have relation with her during the day after the night. As long as she did not see during the night and she did the bidika, she did the internal checking properly, like we explained above. Now, Rabotai, before we do continue, let's just go back to this case for a second. If a woman sees blood in the middle of the night, beginning of the night, towards the end of the night, doesn't matter. We're going to say that woman sees blood at night. That means next time around when she's anticipating her period, you're not allowed to sleep with her during the night. Now don't be stringent and also not sleep with her during the day, or not sleep with her after the night, meaning which is the day. So we have again, I can't, so basically let's put it like this. Let's say, all right, let's do this. Let's say this is the night period. Now you have the day before the night and you also have the day after the night. So the day before the night you're allowed to sleep with your wife. The day after the night you're also allowed to sleep with your wife as long as she didn't see and she did the proper internal checking. So in this case, Rabotai, let's just say from 7:25 it's already nightfall, meaning because that's when sun sets. That's when you're not going to be allowed to be with your wife. Let's say the time continues until 6:23. So until 6:23, it's all going to be called the night period. You can't sleep on the same bed. You cannot have relations with her. However, the day before the night, which is this period right over here, before 7:25, you're allowed to be with your wife. And also the day after the night, again, it's the same day, but let's say this is a new day. The day after the night, you know something, let's do it more real. Let's go. Let me just go to the next seta. Here, let's go to September 3rd. Here. The day after the night, which will be after 6:24, you see the time even changed. Then this whole period, you're allowed to go ahead and be with your wife. As long as she didn't see and she did an internal checking. Okay, Rabotai. With that, we do conclude today's class. I'm just going to go and do a review in English. Okay. What is Prisha Samach Levesta? What does it mean that when a person has to separate close to a woman's period? It means when a woman expects her period based on her usual cycle, her husband must stay away from her at that time. This rule is from the rabbis, but they connected it to a pasuk in the Torah, and you shall warn the children of Israel, meaning the men, from their impurity. And we explained that to mean that the Chachamim, let me just go back over here, and the Chachamim said, V'darshu Chachamim, Mikan Azral b'nei Yisrael shepershu min Nusayim Samach Levestam. From here, the rabbis explained that a husband has to stay away from his wife close to the time when she's anticipating her period. Okay. How long must he stay away? He must separate for one whole onah. What is an onah? It's either half a day, either daytime or nighttime. So either day onah from sunrise to sunset, or night onah from sunset to sunrise, like we explained. If the woman's accustomed to see it during the day, you can't sleep with her from sunrise to sunset. If a woman is accustomed to seeing it at night, so she's a night onah, you can't sleep with her from sunset to sunrise. If she usually sees blood in the daytime, he must separate the entire day, sunrise to sunset. Doesn't matter if she usually sees it at the start, middle, or end of the day. We're going to call her that she saw blood during the day. He may be with her at the night before and the night after the day. In parentheses, if she hasn't seen blood yet. Also, we did explain, but only if she checked herself at the end of the onah and was still clean. Next case, if she usually sees blood at night, he must separate the entire night from sunset until sunrise. Doesn't matter if she usually sees at the start, middle, or end of the night. We're going to say that she's a woman who sees her period at night. So next time when he's going to come around that he has to stay away from her, it's only going to be the night period. He may be with her the day before the night and also the day after the night if she hasn't seen blood yet and checked properly. Key point, the husband must separate during the expected time window of her period, which is the one onah. If she checks at the end of that onah and sees she is clean, they can be together afterwards. All right, so this is what we just said before. Onah is a period which means time frame. It does not mean the period of the woman. Rabotai, have a great day. Baruch Adonai La'olam.